Hey there, I left one of the lights on behind me, and Willow may or may not be making a little bit of noise coming up. Stefan should be getting home momentarily. So, for today, because we're going to do a restorative class, I would say get the basic necessities that you tend to have anyway. So, your blocks, your books, your pillowcase full of towels that you've rolled up to use as bolster. Maybe your strap, I haven't quite decided on that yet. It may help move certain postures a little closer. In the description, this is more hip and hamstring focused today, mainly because I am also really feeling it from today's deadlift and running workout, but also just something to really kind of help open up the hips from being in a desk all day. Tends to be what most of us did. I don't know if anybody got out to enjoy some of the sunshine we had today. It was very humid and then it got very nice. And after 4 days of nothing but rain, I was just happy to see sunlight for once. So, get your stuff, find a place to get yourself settled, shut a door if you have to, put some music on, whatever's going to help you feel settled today. Now, with all the postures that we're going to go through, yes, I am going to demo them. I will back out of a lot of them a little bit faster as a way to make sure we're holding it for a good amount of time. Most postures, I'm going to aim for us being in them for a minute or more, just so you can ease into the posture, spend a good chunk of time in a deep forward fold or a nice deep pigeon pose, anything that's going to help open you up, but also to back out of it. I will back out of the postures a little sooner than I would suggest you do, just as a way to offer any additional variations. With that in mind, any of these postures, if you need to do a quick session on your own, you are welcome to shorten the amount of time that you hold each position. Everything that we're doing can be made into a much shorter class. We're just holding because we have the time to hold the posture. You need to get something a little bit more quick, a little bit more in, out, get it done. You don't have to hold as long. So when I'm referring to a breath count, I'm going to suggest that we hold for 15 to 25 breaths if you are somebody who is a counter, because I know counting can just sometimes help maintain a posture and keep you a little bit more present in the current space. It was one of my favorite ways to learn meditation, was just thinking about counting my breath. I'm not somebody who can typically, as you can see, sit still for a prolonged period of time. I am a hand talker. I'm a fidgeter. Meditation has always been pretty hard for me because I got my grocery list I'm running through. Oh, what should we do? Oh, let me recount the thing that happened 3 years ago. That was really, really super embarrassing. By counting and counting your breaths, it forces some of that stuff to kind of fade into the background as you're making yourself more present. And as meditation becomes a bit more prevalent in your day-to-day life, maybe you don't count, maybe you just listen to music. And that helps pull you out of whatever brain spiral you're going through to make you more present in the moment. And I say that with the intention that I believe very heavily in moving meditation, which is why I enjoy CrossFit as much as I do yoga or going for walks or hiking in nature. I find those as good for me for a type of meditation as sitting down and meditating or journaling. Those are very helpful things for me personally. Now that I've kind of given you some overshare, you can count your breath. You can set an intention. That is another meditative practice. Setting an intention is more or less just saying, I want to focus on this one thing. I like choosing one word, and that is what I focus on. When I start going through my brain spiral, because it happens, I go back to the one word and I'll breathe through it. I like either a single syllable or two syllable. I like the two syllable, like graceful. So I can think grace, and I'm full on that exhale. So something to kind of help moderate my breath. I am is a very good one as well. It can solely be I am. It is a very grounding thought. It makes you a little bit more present. If you need more, I like I am present. I am kind. Something that helps make you feel good about yourself. I am a badass baker. Whatever works. So, meditation aside, you can have music playing, you can count, you can give yourself a positive affirmation, something to come back to. Um, Going for a more esoteric practice, if you are somebody who likes reciting mantras in your head, you are welcome to do so. It's not something I've done a lot of practice in, so I don't tend to teach it that way. If that's your cup of tea, it's your cup of tea, it's your practice. You do you, boo boo. So, moving on from there, we got our stuff. I tend to leave my stuff roughly within arm's reach of wherever I'm going to be, or that awkward roll reach distance. We are going to start in a comfortable seat. We are going to start how I typically start my classes, with gentle twists and some fidgets. We're going to spend some time just breathing and focusing on your breathing. Feeling yourself inhale, chest getting big, filling your belly full of air, and on your exhale, relaxing the shoulders, relaxing the hips. If you need to fidget a little, just to kind of find that little bit of settle that we need, because we all need to settle every once in a while. Settle into your space, own your space. But any little fidgets or tweaks, like maybe this is comfortable and actually this is way more comfortable for you. Half lotus, or I have one foot tucked up underneath my thigh, one leg out straight. Either one. And we're just going to breathe. Thinking maybe something that made you smile today. Thinking about how warm the sun felt. Not how humid it was, but maybe the warmth of the sun from today. Or coming back to whatever you needed your intention to be today. Or counting. Inhaling for a count of 6. Slight pause at the top, and an exhale fully for a count of 6. Maybe even throwing in a sigh, just to kind of help that release come through. Arms are wherever it's comfortable for you. You can have your hands on the ground. It can be in your lap. It can be on your knees, whatever's more comfortable. We're going to breathe and think about that intention or counting. Slowly thinking less, focusing less on our to-do list, on our tasks for the day or for the weekend, and more on feeling the present moment. Your eyes can stay closed through your practice. They can take a soft gaze. You can kind of like just focus on the screen and let everything else around the screen just kind of get a little fuzzy, not like a hard focus. If you're cross-legged, you can stay cross-legged. If you want your legs out straight, I know I tend to do this cross-legged, so I'm going to give the option of legs out straight today. I'm just going to do a nice big inhale, reach up, wiggle it around, maybe do little twisties, wiggle the shoulders out. And on your exhale, we're going to twist, bring left hand down to the outside of your right thigh, right hand coming behind you. Inhale, filling the chest, filling the belly. Imagining maybe someone's lifting us up through the rib cage, exhaling, twisting a little deeper. This doesn't have to be a crazy, super deep twist right now. This is just a very gentle one. And we're going to be here a little bit of time. So with that in mind, you don't have to crank yourself to where you're looking at the wall behind you. Gently allow your eyes to kind of glide along the floorboard. I have a lot of stuff in the way of my floorboard. I'm just like looking where my ceiling and my floor meet. Each inhale getting tall, each exhale twisting just a little bit deeper. So if you need to back out a little, feel that inhale, exhale, twist a little deeper. We'll be here for at least Another 5 to 10 breaths, depending on how long you want to hold this. I'm going to hold for 5. If you want longer, you take longer. If you yawn, it happens. When you're ready, we're just going to untwist on that inhale. Big reach up, wiggle it out. On that exhale, we're going to twist towards the left, right hand coming down to the outside of your left thigh. And again, gaze kind of coming along where that wall and floor meet. And we're going to be here for about that 15 to 20 breath count. If you need longer, take a little longer. But here we're not trying to yank really deeply into a posture. We're just trying to ease in. So use maybe that first 5, maybe 6 breaths to settle. And as you decide to start going a little deeper, that next maybe 5 to 6 breaths or more, you can go 5 to 10. In that deepest expression of your posture, we're edging ever closer to the deeper expression of your posture. Still imagining inhaling, getting tall, exhaling, twisting a little deeper. And as you're ready, you can start to back out of the posture a little. So you're not yanking yourself deeply back into that deep, deep twist. Maybe you're just kind of loosening some of the pressure, allowing your gaze to slide maybe from the back corner of your room, maybe about a quarter of the way to halfway down the wall. I'm going to spend another 5 or more, should you choose to take more breaths here. Ready, big inhale, untwist, wiggle it out. On our exhale, we're just going to hinge forward. So all we're doing is hips are staying nice and planted here. I'm leaning my chest forward. I'm not trying to bring my chest down to my thighs. Just a gentle lean here. Should get a little bit of a stretch in your low back, maybe a little bit more on your hamstrings. Gaze is wherever it's comfortable for your neck. So I tend to like to focus right about where my ankles are at, or even closer to maybe mid-shin. We're going to be here for about that 15 breaths. So you need to sit up a little taller at first, come to a bit more of a side angle. So maybe that first 5 breaths, you're still just kind of figuring out a little bit of comfort with the posture. More thinking of leaning and hinging forward. Hands don't immediately have to grab at your ankles. Mine are right now on my shins, close to my ankles, but not quite. Maybe for another couple of breaths, I want to take this a little deeper and I'll just hinge forward a little more. Really thinking about trying to keep my back as neutral as possible. So if I need to bend my knees to keep my spine in a nice neutral position, bend your knees. Otherwise, if you need a little more intensity, really think about pushing the knees down and pressing the hip bones into the mat as you hinge. At no point am I like hyper reaching past my toes. I'm more just easing to where, okay, my forearms may be along my shins. You can take 5 to 10 breaths just in this posture here. I'm going to be here for another 3 breaths because that's just what feels good for me. If you want to spend more time, you spend more time. You need to back out. You start the back out sequence, and we're just going to ease out of it just similar to the way we eased into the posture. So when you're ready to start backing out, we're going to take like 4 to 5, if not more, breaths to back out of the posture. So you go from that nice deep forward fold to, okay, a little more upright. A little more upright. To fully sitting upright. If you need to spend more time in a deep, deep expression of the posture or stretch or whatever you want to call this, you don't have to build into it as long, and you can spend more time in that posture. You don't have to spend as much time to back out. This is a way to help ease your body through these movements so you're not automatically throwing yourself into a posture. So from here, we're going to move into a child's pose. You can canter your hips right or left. Feet are going to come up underneath you. So I'm sitting on my heels to start. I'm going to start knees together. I'm going to walk my hands forward in front of me. Even in child's pose, you can get a lot of sensation. So here, just from keeping my knees together, I'm getting a lot of stretch in my back. And I'm wanting to ease into this posture. So if you notice, my head's not automatically on the ground. If you're at that point, go for it. Awesome. But I'm using this as a way to help encourage my back to gently release and my hips to gently release so I can sink deeper. And I'm not forcing myself to go deeper than my body will allow me to. As you inhale, think about inhaling into your back, which sounds really weird for a lot of people. But as I inhale, I really focus on the way my back expands with the inhale. And the exhale, I allow gravity to just pull me that little bit deeper. I'm going to back out of the posture early because I don't think a lot of people wanted to see me hold a child's pose for a while, and everyone's going to be looking at the ground anyway. So me just holding a child's pose isn't super helpful for guiding your practice. We will be here for another 8 to 10 breaths. So, talking about different sensations you can focus on while you're sinking deeper. It's, yeah, it can be hard to breathe depending on how compressed you are. When I refer to breathing into your back, or you hear that said in class, your lungs are going to expand anyway. It should be an idea or a focus of feeling how your back expands in your inhale, because we're often talking about breathing into your belly. You can't really breathe into your belly as much in child's pose. You have to feel into that back. Notice how your shoulder blades shift. Notice that little bit of stretch. And on your exhale, allow gravity to pull you deeper. Don't resist it as much. But also don't force it. Don't think just because, okay, I'm here, I have to stay here. You can back out a little, wiggle it out, and then just sink a little deeper. If you need a slightly more active posture, you can think about pressing through the base of your knuckles and your forearm to press your hips back to make contact with your heels. And when you're ready to back out of the posture, I tend to be a fan of like walking my hands in towards my knees and keeping my chin tucked until I'm ready to lift it. So if you just immediately shoot up, you can kind of end up with a bit of a head rush. From here, we're going to take a wide leg variation. This is going to transform the posture slightly depending on how tight you are. Going knees together is going to give you a lot more back by keeping big toes together, knees out towards the edges of your mat. We're going to get a little bit more into the hips here because we're giving our chest space to sink. This also might make it a little easier to breathe because, like for me, I know keeping my knees together, while it's a great stretch for my back, it doesn't exactly feel comfortable to stay there super long because of chest. So you can walk your hands forward. Same thing here. You don't have to immediately shoot into your posture. We're breathing here for that 15 up to 25. If you want longer, you take longer. But I'm really kind of suggesting about a 15 breath count here. In my extended child's pose, I do like to really reach my arms out in front of me. Really, really reaching. On that inhale, on that exhale, I'll push back, bringing my hips a little closer to my heels. By reaching forward on my inhales, it's just giving me something to focus on. And it's not like an over exaggerated, I'm reaching for my blue block. I'm not reaching that hard. It's more thinking of lengthening my arms forward and on exhaling, pushing my hips back. That lengthening, that big stretch can definitely help you have tight shoulders. It's just a nice little variation to try. We're going to be here a while, so focus and allow yourself to sink as much as you need to. I'm not going to stay in the posture that long because it is also very hard, more than likely, for you to hear me when I'm talking into the ground in a child's pose than if I'm talking to the camera. Getting into the more esoteric side of yoga, child's pose can be a very grounding posture, allowing you to kind of withdraw in because you're removing that sense of that visual sense from around you. So your eyes closed, you can focus more exclusively on your breathing. It is a fantastic resting posture if you were in maybe a very heavy physical practice. I'm waiting for my dog to bark. If you have a very physically demanding practice and you need to maybe back out a little, you can go into a child's pose. If you're ready to break the posture early, same way, I like to walk my hands in towards my legs. I'm going to bring my knees underneath my hip sockets. And we're going to go for puppy pose because I want to get a bit into the shoulders as well. So knees come underneath the hip sockets. You can transition through tabletop or through child's pose, whatever's more comfortable for you. Hips stay lifted, hands walk in front, chest sinks down to the mat here. Breathing again. I don't always like saying breathing into your back, but noticing on your inhales how your back feels, how it starts to expand rather than focusing so much on breathing into your belly. It's just a shift of focus. This can get a really nice stretch in that triangle between your shoulder blades. I like to call it the spot that's really hard to itch on your own because it's just out of grasp. If you try to come from the top, it's just out of grasp. If you try to come from the bottom to get a good itch, you might get kind of that awkward, like, hand rubby itch. I know, it's odd, but I feel like it's an apt description. Staying in this extended puppy pose just a little bit longer. Again, I'm going to continue to talk while you hold this posture for another maybe 5 to 10 breaths. If you want to go ahead and transition to our next posture, hands walk to the right, rib cage pushes to the left. We're going to allow that sensation travel more from that triangle between your shoulder blades into that lat area. Maybe get a little something into that armpit. Up to you. I think someone's joining us. Maybe. Hi.
Hi.
I can't talk while I'm in a deep posture.
Good. I can get in posture. You can talk. Child's pose?
No, we were doing puppy dog, but now we're going to switch from hands being to the right to walking the hands to the left, pushing the rib cage to the right.
Okay.
Very bold of you to do it in those shorts.
Thank you.
Puppy dog. Hips lift. There you go.
Puppy dog. Oh.
And we got another puppy dog. We got a pupper-do. And if any posture is giving you that really good stretchy feeling, you're always welcome to hold it longer. I just give like a 15 count, a 15 breath count, up to that 25 breath count to kind of give you an idea of what at least a minute in the posture will feel like. Willow is hitting me in the face with her tail.
Hey, puppies.
Again, this is getting a lot more of that stretching to your lat. And I like having Stefan to do these postures for me while I talk through them, just because it does. He can hold the postures for the duration. Thanks, Willow. Bye, Willow. He can hold the posture for the duration, and I can still talk. You good?
Yeah, left arm.
I really hate what this pose is called, but I don't remember its Sanskrit translation. It's going to be called suffering is going to be our next posture. It's a very nice plantar fascia stretch. So if we do have healthcare workers who are still up on their feet, or essential personnel that are still up on their feet all day, or maybe you're running around after children, or doing a lot of stress baking on floors that maybe don't have the nice gel mats to them. It's just a nice little thing to stretch along the outside portion of your foot. So when you're ready, hands will walk through to midline. I would like to use child's pose kind of as a transition. So hips will come down and then hands will walk into the knees. So you can come to sitting on your heels. No, we're starting on the heels first so I can talk through it. So we're really going for a nice deep stretch here. You don't have to stay in it as long as that 15 count. You can back in and out of it. I would like you to hold it for at least a 5 to 8 count, maybe back out a little, and then re-sink into the posture. So you are coming up to where your bum is on your heels, your toes are pressing into the mat, and you're thinking about pressing your baby, the little baby toe that tends to get hit on everything. Think about pressing that into the mat or the carpet. This can give you a lot of stretch in the arch of your foot. I'm getting a big stretch on the top of my ankle into my shin. Don't know why, I just am. Actually, I probably know why. I don't have the greatest running form. I was running with the dog earlier, and she likes to either pull really hard or be drugged. She'll sprint for 50 meters and then find something very interesting in the ground that I have to drag her from.
I feel this all in the toes.
Yeah. So I get a good deal of toes, but I also get a lot of arch.
I got a little bit of arch. I don't have much arch.
Yeah. So a way to also kind of help get deeper into the arch is I do think about pressing my arch back and pushing back. So if I needed to, I could shift easily onto my toes before I come back down. I'm going to tap it out, shake it out, and then back down into the posture. It's a fun mobility drill to play with and a fun balance drill. It's to tap, back, down. But that's not, we're not playing with fun mobility drills. We're just kind of allowing our bodies to sink into postures today.
We're playing with suffering.
You look so pleased with yourself.
I thought it was good.
Again, that 15 count is more of just you need to spend 5 breaths, shake it out, maybe just go a little bit deeper. When you're ready to break the posture, just lean forward, tap your feet out. Really hope you don't have downstairs neighbors. We're going to come to sitting on the heels. This is a funky stretch. I think we did it last week as well. Try and keep the knees together as much as possible. You're sitting on your heels. Hands are going to come behind you. I like to go fingertips away from my body. We're going to play with just lifting your knees. Yeah. So if you have a really tight front part of your foot, it can be not the most pleasant thing in the world. So I would like you to try and spend a couple of breaths. This is me just trying to play with balance at this point. Spend a couple of breaths here, and then maybe back out. Shake it out if you need to. Go back into the posture. Trying for 5 breath count. If you can't make it 5 breath count, that's cool. Shift forward, shake it out, and we'll go back into it. I'm giving us a lot of ankle today too. So if you don't have the greatest ankle mobility, this is not going to be a super pleasant posture. As you can see on Stefan's face, if you have really good ankle mobility, you can probably shift back and hang out here for a few breaths. The hands just help alleviate some of the pressure. If you try and focus just keeping your weight all the way onto your heels, hands maybe in your lap, knees lifted, you're going to get a lot along that top part of your foot. Again, maybe a total of a 15 count in the posture, backing in and out. When we're done with this, we're just going to bring our hips to the side, legs are going to swing out. Yay! Not on your ankles. This is where, if you have a strap or a block, you don't quite need it yet. We're going to go for a wide leg forward fold so you can cant yourself to the side. And this doesn't have to be a super wide leg fold quite yet. And if you remember how we entered into the seated forward fold, we're going to spend a couple of breaths, maybe 5 breaths, fairly upright. You want to think about pressing the thumbs down, maybe giving yourself a little wiggle to maybe get a little bit deeper. We're going to spend maybe 5 breaths just slowly inching ourselves a little further forward. The name of today's game is all about gradually getting into postures, spending some time in it and easing yourself out. So you're spending almost a 5 breath journey to get into the fullest expression of your posture. You can take longer if you need it. You can take less time if you need it. If you're like me, I'm way tighter than I typically am, but I can still fold forward pretty quickly. And I want to spend more time in this deep posture. Again, I like to say gaze is wherever it's comfortable for your neck. So I tend to use my fingertips as my guide, and the further down I go, I'm not reaching all the way forward and reaching at my fingertips. I'm keeping my forearms planted and focusing again on that hinge forward, neutral spine, maybe a little bit of a wiggle. I'm going to back out early so I can talk through it. You good?
Yep, it's about as far as I'm going today.
That's fine.
These are pretty tight. I don't know why. Sitting.
Yeah, that's why we're doing this. That's why we do a lot of hip stuff. Probably most. You can keep your hands on the ground. You don't have to reach. So if you're keeping your hands hovered off the ground as you reach forward, like you would in like a V-sit reach, if you remember the presidential fitness test, it might make it put a little more pressure on your back. Even if you're not reaching as far, if you just put your hands down, it will take some of the pressure out of your back. And like I said, about 15 breaths here. You can go up to 25 if you want it. But this is a way, 5 breaths in, 5 breaths at that deep extension, like that deep expression for you of the posture. And then you can slowly back out for about that 5 breath count. If you need longer in that full expression, take longer. If you need more time to get there, do it. It's just a way to suggest how to move through your posture. Because so many of us focus predominantly on CrossFit that have subscribed to this channel, or like boot camp style workouts, counting tends to be a reliable thing. You about at that 15 count?
Yeah, I'm like 12.
Okay. When you are ready to back out, it's the same way we started with that seated forward fold. We're just going to walk those hands in. Give yourself time to feel a little bit more equalized. Soles of your feet are going to come together. We're going for butterfly. So butterfly, our heels are much more in towards our inner hip. Hands again are wherever it's really comfortable for you. I like to start with my hands and my ankles. You can start to reach forward, but we're going to journey into the posture, thinking more about keeping the butt bone planted, spine neutral, and hinging forward. If you need to round to get a little bit of a stretch, you can round a little. Not anything crazy though. I'm sure it's a tip and a trick I've shared frequently, but I'm going to share it again. My hands are on my ankles. My elbows are going in essentially where my knee pits are at. And that's just helping me leverage my body down a little further. And as I get deeper into the posture, maybe I press my elbows more into my thighs to press down a little further. I'm getting a lot of inner thigh and like a little bit of the low back upper bum area. How tight are you here?
I mean, this is all still the same kind of tightness I had in them.
This is just another variation of it.
Yeah.
So
it's just not tight around the. That's not the IT. But
no, it's not.
It's that hamstring underneath my kneecap.
Now, if you do want to press down a little harder, going into that fuller expression of your posture, so you can legit take your hands the inside of your thighs. We're not going on the knees. We're going to the inside of the thighs or on the shins. And we're gently going to press down here as you hinge. If that's not comfortable for you, don't do it. And that comfort meaning uncomfortable being pain that you definitely should not be in, not stretchy pain where you're feeling your muscles release. There's a difference. Our dog, I think, is now asleep. There's a high probability she may start snoring.
She's throw a sock at her.
Again, going for that 15 to 25 count in this posture. 5 on your journey, 5 in the deep expression, 5 backing out. If you want more or less time, you adjust according to how your body feels. What I'm giving you is just a nice little arbitrary suggestion and a baseline to start at. When you're ready, you just back out the same way you kind of backed into it. Just reverse it. Hands walk up. You can give yourself a little bit of a wiggle. We're going to do that diamond shape going into our cobbler's pose. So bump those heels out. We're going for about 2 feet of distance between where your heels and your inner thigh are. Nice amount of space. Wiggle around. Feel your butt bone press down. We're entering it the same way we did that butterfly posture, gradually, allowing the hands to rest wherever it's comfortable. Your hands can come to the inside of your little diamond that you just made. They can come to your shins. They can come to your ankles, maybe your feet. Maybe they reach down in front of you. By bumping your feet out, I'm going to let you kind of stick and move through the postures as I talk. By bumping your feet out that distance, you can change the way the posture feels, even though it essentially looks very similar, and get a little bit more going from that inner thigh to a lot more of that outer thigh into the back. Getting more back and outer thigh.
It's
Upper hip.
stuff. Upper hip happening over here, but yeah.
Getting a lot of low back.
Yeah, I'm feeling some low back in here and here.
Good.
Trying to keep my chest up though.
It doesn't necessarily have to be up, so you don't have to think about hyperextending.
Just kind of leveled out.
Yeah. Think about like how you would hinge back for an RDL.
Okay.
Neutral spine. Hopefully that's helpful. And see, as I start to come down a little further, or as I go down a little further, I start to release my neck. So I'm not looking at my toes. I start looking maybe at my heels, maybe at, for me, the carpet behind where my heels are at. Maybe bringing my forehead to my toes. When you're ready, gradual back out. Wiggle it out if you need to. I'm going to straighten the legs. Wiggle it out here. We're going to go for a counter pose, so we can go reverse tabletop or reverse plank here. Yeah. Do you want reverse plank or reverse tabletop?
Tabletops.
So, going for tabletop, rather than your feet being outstretched in front of you, we're going to bring the feet in, plant them about hips width distance apart. Hands are going to come behind your bum. You can point your fingertips out away from your body or in towards your body, depending on your wrist mobility. So you need to adjust the way you're pointing your hands fully back. I want you pointing them away from your body, like right and left, versus out behind you.
Like this.
Mm-hmm. From there, your chin will stay tucked until you reach the apex of the pose. This is a pit stop. We are not holding this long. This is like a 4 to 5 breath count, if that. So hips will squeeze. We're going to lift. 4 to 5 breaths. You can allow your head to start to drop back as it feels comfortable for you. And when you're ready, hips come down. Yay! Let's get back into those hips and the hamstrings. So legs are going to be outstretched. This is where a block or a bolster is going to come in. You're going to bring feet together. Wiggle until you feel your butt bone press down into the mat. Same hinge forward we've been doing. We're keeping this. If you haven't noticed a theme, you have a strap or a block, you can use this as a way to bring your feet a little closer to you. I like to start by slowly inching my way down. So you notice Stefan's kind of holding the very ends of his straps as he's starting out. As you start to feel comfortable, we hinge forward. So maybe you start hands maybe on the outside of your knees. As you come down, maybe they come to the outside of your shins. Come down a little further. Maybe we're going for those ankles now. And as if you were using the strap, as you get more comfortable, you can start to shorten the distance. We're not trying to like force yourself into it. It's more just kind of applying a gentle pressure. Another thing I like to do with straps is I like to use it as a way to pull my toes closer towards my body. So I'm pulling my toes toward me. That gives me a lot more of my calves as well by flexing my toes towards my face. If I'm not using a strap, as I'm clearly not right now, hands can come around to the bottoms of my feet and I will just gently press my toes back. Sorry. It happens. Yeah. Only going to be here a little bit longer. Like I said, our entire focus today, mine is like a little pit stop around the ankles and the shoulders. It's all been hamstrings and hips. But guess what we're going to do when we're ready to break the posture? We're slowly going to walk ourselves up after you've spent some time in it. Give yourself a wiggle if you need to. We're going to come into our resting posture. I'm going to use Stefan to demo a lot of different variations using blocks. So if I can have you pivot this way. Boom. So, if your shoulders are tighter than normal, you can take a block, long ways between your shoulder blades, and rest over the block. It is supported fish pose. On the demo, between the shoulder blades. This will allow your chest to remain high and open. You might need to do some tweaking. I probably didn't put it in the exact right spot.
It's got
It allows your shoulders to just gently and passively open here. Does that feel good for you? If he wanted more hips, he could butterfly the soles of his feet together and allow his knees to drop out. So this way he's getting chest and hips. I'm still going to use him to demo, just so I can continue talking about resting postures. Allow your legs to go long. Can you sit up for me? You can also bring the block long ways to where the sits bones are at, so he's going to have to bridge up to get it underneath his sits bones. Yeah. So allow your shoulders to come back. Supported bridge. This might be a good resting posture for you. Allow your legs to go long. Extended bridge. Hips are elevated. This is, again, just a very passive way to get into the hips. Feels good here?
Mm-hmm.
Those are books that your toes are messing with. Well, there's folders and books. One final variation I do like to offer, and again, in this position, he could bring the soles of his feet together and allow his knees to butterfly. Excuse me. That was foamy. Allow his knees to butterfly out. So this is a reclined cobbler's pose, just with the hips elevated. Do you notice more in your hips now?
Mm-hmm.
So a variation if your hips are tight. One more. I'm going to have you sit back up, and we're going to have to get that block out from underneath you. You're going to lay completely back, and the blocks are going to come up underneath your knees. So lay completely back and allow the blocks to come underneath your knees. Actually, I'm going to give you one more variation of this too. It's not much, it's just a way to take some pressure off your knees. Now, one final variation because I said bring your feet together. I'm bringing them up a little higher for him and allow your knees to butterfly back out and rest on the blocks. This is another variation. It just allows a little more support for a reclined cobbler's pose, or I'm telling them the butterfly, but a reclined butterfly or reclined cobbler's pose. That way you're not having gravity force your legs into a deeper hip stretch than you really want them to be in. This allows you to have a little bit of support here while still getting a nice deep stretch without having to resist gravity or be pulled too deeply. So we've been through the gambit of different ways to adjust your relaxation pose, your resting posture, whatever you want to call it. Stefan, pick whichever one feels good for you today.
Just a resting posture?
Yeah, we're going for a resting posture.
Okay.
He just wants nothing. These are all different variations of things that you can do to give yourself a little more support to make a few adjustments. You can do a very little bit of light guided meditation as you move into this resting posture, allowing it to look however it needs to look. As you see, Stefan went with a very traditional corpse pose because that's what feels comfortable for him today. This may be what you want today. If you need to change it up tomorrow, go for it. It's your practice. It's time that you are carving out of the day to move for yourself. I'm going to invite that feeling of warmth to start at your chest. Less heartburny, more like warm bourbon, hot tea, that nice soothing warmth, and allow it to travel into your shoulders, allowing your shoulders to relax to the mat. And down your arms, out into your fingertips, allowing your hands to relax. Not clenching a fist or anything, just allow loose hands. Allow that warmth to travel into your belly, soothing any butterflies you may have, moving into your hips, easing any tension and pain through your hips, down your legs and out the soles of your feet, allowing your toes to relax, the arches of your feet to relax, and your feet to just be heavy. Allow that warmth to travel from your chest and shoulders into your throat, easing your voice here. Along your jaw, around to the outside edges of your eyes, into your forehead, easing any tension you're holding in your face, loosening your jaw, unfurrowing your brow. And then finally, allow that warmth to radiate through the crown of your head until you just feel nice and warm, like you kind of just stepped into a hot tub or a steam room, whatever feels happy for you. And come back to whatever intention you maybe set at the beginning of your practice. Whether that was a positive affirmation, a word that you're trying to cultivate within your practice or in your day-to-day life, or just counting. And what you want to do is count your breathing, count your inhale, count your exhale. Allow that to be a soothing motion for you. And I want to share something from Bianca Sperancino. It's a favorite quote that I like to come back to. Happiness turned to me and said, "It is time. It is time to forgive yourself for all the things you did not become. It is time to exonerate yourself for all of the people you couldn't save, for all the fragile hearts you fumbled with the dark of your confusion. It is time, child, to accept that you do not have to be who you were a year ago, that you do not have to want the same things. Above all else, it is time to believe with reckless abandon that you are worthy of me, for I have been waiting for you. Everyone is worthy of happiness. We often tend to think we don't deserve it for whatever reason. You don't have to be the same person you were 4 months ago, much less a year ago. You're allowed to change your mind and make yourself happy. I'm going to bring my hands together. I'm going to close out the practice just like I would a physical one. I bring my hands together at my forehead for kind thoughts, my mouth for kind words, and my heart for good intentions. I want to thank you so much for letting me guide you tonight. I hope this was helpful, especially if you were having a lot of hip or hamstring issues today. So I'm going to awkwardly come up to end the stream. Thanks, guys.